What is happening out there, Rotoscouts baseball fans? Welcome to a Tuesday show, gang. Good to see you. A couple minutes late getting started again. Couple half hour at least later than I wanted to start this show. Partway through the day, I was thinking, I could leave NBA projections, only 5 games. I could do that after the baseball show, move the baseball show up, nailed it at like 3:30. Fell behind that schedule, and it all just went to pieces. So here we are, 10-gamer again tonight. It's the same schedule as last night, so you're going to be talking a lot of the same hitters through these lineups. Obviously, some key changes here and there, but definitely new pitching matchups to focus on as we go through this entirely new slate, completely different than last night's show. But welcome. So we're going to talk through a solid-looking one. We're back to the top of the rotation with several of these teams, which is great. Got some key pitchers in mind. Got some excellent-looking stacking spots. Not really the explosive looking spot that the Cubs were last night. That one mostly came through. A lot of offensive production there. We had a pretty good day yesterday. Obviously, Cody Ponce unfortunately blowing out his knee. Who could have seen that coming? And obviously led to the Rocks doing a lot of damage there. So that one, total wild card scenario coming through with a lot of scoring for DFS. But overall, thought we kind of nailed that slate yesterday. A lot of the things we talked about came through. The Yankees let us down. The Red Sox let us down a little bit up from toward the top of the boards. Ooh, Vladdy Guerrero. Some of the stats not coming through. Oh, it's because of the junior thing. I was trying to fix that for the back and forth. Somewhere along the way, it got screwed up on one of these stats boards, and now it's mismatched. And I thought I fixed it over here, but at the same time, I screwed it up over there. So that's unfortunate. Just strip the name off. It's annoying because it comes through the lineup site as just without the juniors. It's going to be the same for Acuna as well because I left them in today because it's better to leave them in for you guys and for me when I'm grabbing the projections and everything too. You don't have to do any auto replaces or anything. This used to just work like a dream, and somebody changed something somewhere, and we lost some of the juniors. All right, so they're not going to show on this one on the barrel rate, but that's fine. We know Vladdy had a great barrel rate. We'll fix anything else as we go. Fortunately, that doesn't impact the projections. That's just our visibility on our stats dashboard here. Anyway, little cosmetic stuff as we get started here. Welcome, everybody. Cujo's here in the chat saying good afternoon. I'm sure he was bright and early. And welcome to the other handful of folks who are trickling in. Let's dive into this thing because we do have to try and get out of here. Yesterday worked out fairly well as far as getting back to the NBA projections, and there's fewer games today. So a little after 6 is fine, 6:15, something like that. I don't want to push it too far, though. Again, same schedule as yesterday, but completely different matchups. We've got a couple of 5-run totals, but nothing pushing 6 like we had yesterday with the Cubs was the point I was trying to make. We do have the Blue Jays, the Braves, both pulling 5+ implied totals. We've got the Dodgers just under a 5-run total. Some great pitching matchups. That Yankees-Mariners pitching matchup is dynamite late in the day. But we've got some pieces to work with. The Mets pulling a very solid total, looking like one of the top stacks of the day on our board. I'm hoping they're ranked down, maybe a couple spots behind some of the others because they're top of the list as far as I'm concerned. Love that Mets lineup, and it's a good matchup. Just need to find some power against the Andre Palante, who is okay at suppressing power. Well, that breakout throwback kind of a night for the Astros last night, too. Knew we didn't like that spot for Suarez. What did he give up out of what they scored, actually? I didn't even really pay attention to him. I know he didn't score well. We had a lot of pitcher scoring, though. How about that Mike Soroka? How many other places out there were telling you to play Mike Soroka yesterday? Struck out 10. Dynamite start from him. Immaculate inning, too, to close it out. Awesome start out of him, but we had a bunch of them. I mean, the pitching came through yesterday on a somewhat light-looking slate. Anyway, starting things off with the Rockies and the Blue Jays. Again, the Blue Jays pulling the highest total on the slate. Definitely well-deserved in that matchup. It's Ryan Feltner on the mound, total target on the mound for the Rockies. Max Scherzer making his season debut. Really interested in Max here. Was dynamite in 3 spring starts, got out to 5 innings in the third one, through 4 2/3, faced 18 and 19 hitters in those last 2 starts. Waited until late in camp to pick a team and sign. But I think he picked a good spot. This Blue Jays rotation got a lot shorter and maybe even shorter if Cody Ponce is hurt. So they're going to need him. He's going to stick all year in the rotation as long as he's healthy, knock on wood. And what I love is not only did he look great during spring, he wasn't bad last year when he was available. And supposedly he figured out, remember all through last year, he was dealing with a thumb injury. It cost him some games. And then it cost him his ability to grip the baseball right, is what he was saying. He started playing piano. And he says that completely solved the problem. So if we're just throwback to, not vintage Max Scherzer, but 2 years ago Max Scherzer, 3 years ago Max Scherzer, sign me up, especially against the Rockies. I have him this week. I thought he was going to get a second start on Sunday when I added him originally against the White Sox, which would have been just, the best 2 starts you could get. But I'll take one against the Rockies here at a home game. Love Max, love the Blue Jays. Athletics against the Braves. Another dynamite-looking spot with the Braves pulling a 5+. They're going up against Aaron Savali, guy we can target. Savali did have that blip a few years ago where strikeouts went way up, and he looked like he was going to take a step, and it's been like 2 years of steps backwards. So I think we could target Savali pretty safely with some hard-hitting Braves. Like that lineup a lot. Jose Suarez on the mound for Atlanta, just kind of caught in the middle here. You can definitely get to some A's. 4.04 implied total. Maybe not a popular spot today. Maybe you can pick off some of that A's power. Is a decent offensive environment in that game overall. The Rays and the Brewers. Interesting one here. The return of Shane McClanahan on the mound for the Rays. You haven't seen Shane McClanahan on a major league mound since 2023. It's been a minute. Former tippy-top kind of a starter. We'll see what he's got. In spring action, he did go 5 in his last start, faced 20 hitters, so presumably a lot of pitches. I don't have the pitch count handy. 3 2/3 the one before that, so stretched out relatively, but I think we get 5 good innings out of Shane O'Mac here, and they'll say thank you very much and go sit down. I don't think they're going to push it. And then on the other side, it's Brandon Woodruff making his season debut. Top of this Milwaukee rotation nominally, but was a little bit behind everybody in camp, dealt with injuries through last season, was back at the end of the year, but missed a big chunk of last year, the entirety of the year before. Only made 2 spring starts. He was recovering during the offseason. Got out to just 3 innings in the last one. I like Woodruff 5 innings here, though. I think we get 5, and again, it's probably hit the showers. So not a ton of upside beyond what's projected, but a reasonable spot against a Rays lineup that has been good to start the season and has several very good hitters in it, but has a lot of weakness down toward the bottom. So I think it's a decent enough spot for Woodruff. That's a dynamite pitching matchup either way, though. 7.5 run total, both teams below 4 implied runs. Angels and the Cubbies. Completely different environment than yesterday. 7 run total. This game was 3 runs higher yesterday. That's what Wrigley can do this time of year. 3.26, 3.27 implied total on the Los Angeles side. They're showing a little bit of power against Jameson Taillon. We can give up a little bit of power. The environment's working against them, but you can't really take it away from some of those hard-hitting Angels. So just know that they're showing some power, but the overall run-scoring environment doesn't look great. So they rank down a little bit as a stack, but up a little bit in terms of the individual home run upside. But again, some factors working against that as well. There's only so much you want to cheat the model for what it's showing, though. And then going the other way, Jose Soriano making his second start of the season. The first one was dynamite, struck out 7. He did walk 4, but he only allowed 2 hits, kept the ball down. That's what we love about Soriano. He's got a excellent fastball, good stuff, the ability to find strikeouts. If he can manage walks and just suppress power like he does, that is a very good pitcher. So I like the upside for him. He's keeping Chicago down under 4 runs today. Completely different spot than it was yesterday. The Mets, again, one of the top teams of the day in my book and on the Vegas board here, 4.69 implied total. They're going up against Andre Palante, who is a totally targetable pitcher. Again, the one thing he tends to do is check power a little bit, but the Mets have some elite power bats in there. I like the Mets upside for some scoring, and even if it just comes via sequencing, I really like their upside in that spot. And on the bump for New York is Kodai Senga, injured for a lot of the last couple of seasons. Good, not great, I would say, when he's available last year. We'll look at it. He outperformed his xFIP, his Sierra last year, only struck out like 22% when he was available, but has more to give than that, too. So if he's back to form, it's a great spot against that Cardinals lineup full of young kids. They've been productive, but they're going to be a target for good pitchers throughout the season. Brian Bayo on the mound for the Red Sox going up against the Astros. Again, great night for the Astros last night. See no reason they couldn't really repeat that against Bayo tonight. He did get out to 6 innings in his last start, so I think you can give him credit for 6, but Astros probably chased him before that. 4.11 total for them, a 3.47 implied total for that Red Sox lineup. They're going up against the Astros ace Hunter Brown, making his second start of the season. First one, just 4 hits, struck out 9 and walked 4. So threw a lot of pitches to get through 4 2/3. Didn't get the 5 innings for the win. Didn't obviously qualify for a quality start either. But that is a very strong debut game outside of the walks, or debut for the season, obviously. And that is a ace caliber top end pitcher. So I believe in that suppressed total for the Red Sox. I like the Hunter Brown upside. Sox as a wild card under-owned team against an ace pitcher. You can obviously pick them off. That is a good lineup with a lot of good players in it, but probably not the right spot to do that. Tigers and the D-backs. So the Tigers, as we talked about yesterday, feared the lefty power, but loved the strikeout opportunity that we were going into with Soroka. He came away with 10 Ks. Put 5 guys on base throughout the game in 5 innings, was just dynamite. And that's the downside of the Tigers. That offense is going to be good. They're going to be very good. They're going to hit for a lot of power, especially those lefties and Spencer Torkelson. But there are a lot of strikeouts on deck there. Brandon Pfaadt could benefit from that tonight. Pfaadt's on the mound for Arizona. Good, not great numbers throughout his career so far, but a talented pitcher with some decent stuff. Got out to 5 innings with 6 strikeouts in his last season start. So 5 and change, I think, is easily in the cards if all goes well. But both these teams coming in at a mid-force total. I think we lean slightly more bats, even though I like Pfaadt and I like Casey Mize, who's on the mound for the Tigers today. Mize made 6 spring starts? Appearances, anyway. Yeah, 6 spring appearances, 4 of them starts. Got stretched out as far as 4 innings. So probably only looking at 5 from Casey Mize here. Just kind of a fragile commodity. We want to protect that arm. Had a good, not great year last year. Liked him a lot as a breakout pick going into the season and was okay. And definitely hit it in spots. I had him on my team in the Dynasty League most of the year. And as a spot starter, fine. Perfectly serviceable. In this spot, though, I don't think it's the right one. Not with that 4.63 implied total, one of the better marks on the board, and just a good Diamondbacks lineup on the other side. Seems like more of a spot for bats on both sides of that one, but both of those pitchers are solidly in the middle of this board. Giants and the Padres. The Giants are showing a lot of offensive upside in this game on our stacks board, on our home run model. A lot of production potential against German Marquez, who for years we were hoping would get out of Colorado. Now that he's finally out, I'm not sure we want to go there. It's a wait and see. It wouldn't surprise me if he had an actually pretty decent year, but I want to see it a little bit first. Through the spring, 7.16 ERA, didn't exactly flash it. 16 1/3. He got out to 5 innings in his next to last start, 4 2/3 in his final start. So stretched out, could give us a decent day if he's suppressing the Giants a little bit, but you can see the 4.27 implied totals working against him. And I just kind of want to get the Giants bats. I don't know that they're going to be a crazy popular stack because that's just kind of a middling type total. So looks like a good spot to me. I think we attack Marquez here, and then if he's good against us, maybe we use him next time around. But he was one to keep an eye on. He had a lot of talent and then went through a ton of injuries the last couple of years, but was always forgotten man pitching in Colorado. The Yankees, the Mariners, again, this is just a pitching matchup. I mean, it's not just a pitching matchup. We've got dynamite offensive options on both sides, but it's Max Fried against Logan Gilbert. Fried was dynamite in his first one, struck out 4, 2-hitter over 6 1/3. Pitched into the 7th inning in his first start of the season. But that's Max. He goes deep into games. He's an efficient pitcher, keeps the ball on the ground. Logan Gilbert, not quite as good. Gave up 3 earned runs, 5 hits, struck out 7. It wasn't a bad start, went 5 1/3, but it wasn't a great start. Has the potential to keep the Yankees down. They dropped to 5th, 6th, something like that on the FanDuel and a little bit further on the DK stack rankings today. Still showing a good amount of power because Logan Gilbert can give up premium contact, can give up home runs, but I feel like it's a day where, kind of like yesterday, the Yanks only scored 1 yesterday. I feel like it's another day where they're, maybe 2-3 runs, but they came through a 2-run home run and then nothing else. So just spot to watch despite the power that they might be showing, and similar things on the other side, despite what offensive production they might be capable of. That's a very, very good pitcher on the mound. You don't necessarily want to tangle with as an angle against ownership, getting to good players, so on and so forth. You can tackle it if you want to, but in moderation across a big portfolio of lineups is the best place to do that. And then the final one, the Guardians going up against Shohei Ohtani. Ohtani's on the mound, not in your FanDuel or DraftKings lineups today, but he's dynamite on the mound as well. Definitely a good opportunity to shut down that Cleveland team. 3.11 implied total is the lowest on the board. Dodgers pulling nearly a 5 in support of him. He is in their regular lineup. He's just not available to us for fantasy scoring. So that run creation engine is still up there. It's a dynamite spot to get to some Dodgers below Shohei. Maybe pair him with Shohei on the mound if you're able to. Good spot overall. As we talk, get some pictures here. Quiet day in chat so far. Meech is here. Ducking is here. Good afternoon, gang. John Hansa says, don't say trickle, now I have to pee. Stephen B, what's going on? All right, take a breath, sip of coffee after that monologue. Get into this one. Very differently shaped pitching board with all the talent available today than yesterday's loaded, fourth and fifth starter slate. So we get a handful of number ones up here that all project pretty similarly, right? Not a ton of daylight, I'll say, all the way down through max there. It's a 4-point swing in either direction on FanDuel, 3.5 on DraftKings. Not bad. You've got a variety of prices. I think the absolutely fantastic looking one, though, again, even though he projects a little bit below these other guys, is Max. 8,000 on FanDuel. Yes, please. 7,800 on DraftKings. Absolutely. I think that's a uber popular SP2 option, but it makes a ton of sense. Again, Rocky's on the road against a righty, but if Max Scherzer is 80% on form for 5 innings here, that could be a very, very good start. So I like that spot quite a bit. Top of the board, Logan Gilbert against my Yankees. Definitely in play. 10-1, 9,500. Not inappropriate prices, but it is expensive to target the Yanks. You're going to do it, though, using that Seattle pitching staff to do it with as their probably lowest end regular starter when everybody's healthy, Luis Castillo, who's dynamite. I've said dynamite like 6 times already. Jeez. I get a word in my head at the beginning of the show sometimes, and it just comes out over and over and over again. Castillo's very, very good and has been for years, but he's sliding down the back end. Didn't have a great year last year. Shut the Yankees down completely last night. Logan Gilbert's quite a bit better. So fine at those prices to go to. Top of the board. Ohtani against the Guardians. Fantastic. For only 9,000 on DraftKings, that's a little bit of a discount. 10-7. Very expensive on FanDuel, but well worth it if you can get there. Logan Webb, a little bit of a redemption spot. It was a bumpy one in his first outing. I skipped over him when we were breaking down the runs, but one of the absolute top pitchers in the league. And you're getting a little discount for that bumpy first start, 9,400, 8,600. Love Logan Webb here against the Padres team that is okay, but not great. Hunter Brown, very expensive to tackle a pretty good Red Sox lineup, but worth every penny of it if you can get to it. That said, a couple guys above him for a little bit cheaper, a couple guys below him in similar range for a little bit cheaper, and one of them a lot cheaper. 9,700, kind of the same story on DraftKings, but a little bit closer to some of those other guys around him. Same's true for Max on FanDuel. You get a massive price gap between Max on FanDuel and Max on DraftKings, even relative to the other guys. That's a big difference. Max, especially if we're looking at an opportunity for 7 innings again, pretty fantastic. Upside for a quality start on FanDuel, I think, is maybe priced into that. That's where you're getting him. You're getting Hunter Brown second time through, a little bit more stretched out than some of the guys that are making their first starts, some of the guys who are dealing with injury returns and so on and so forth. So I think that's probably priced in to the FanDuel number. That's a very high price for Max Fried, who's not a top-end strikeout pitcher, but is an ace. Love Woodruff, 99, 92, as long as he's healthy and throwing innings. That said, we're probably locked around here. A couple few points in either direction, depending on the strikeouts, but we're probably not going beyond 5 innings. We're probably not getting a quality start on FanDuel. What you do hope for there is the win bonus, but the guy he's facing is 2 spots further down, Shane McClanahan. I disagree with that FanDuel price at 10-4. I think 5 innings is the most we're getting, and he's facing a good, not great Brewers lineup right now with no Jackson Chourio. We'll see what the Brewers roll out there against him, but 10-4 feels pricey. 8,300 on the other hand, I think you can pay that off pretty nicely on DraftKings. Love Soriano, especially at 72. DraftKings didn't learn anything from the previous start. Great opportunity to keep the Cubs down, especially in that low-scoring run environment. So, like Soriano, if you can find some strikeout upside, so much the better. FanDuel's got the better of the price. 9,200 is more correct, but love them for 72. Really like the idea of pairing him and Max Scherzer, honestly. 78, 72, go double discount and see what you can buy at bats with that. That's not a terrible combo. You're leaving some scoring on the table probably compared to the very top of the board, but the cost difference that you're getting out of that is pretty significant. And then it starts to thin out. Jameson Taillon is okay. He's matching, Soriano in the projection. I give Soriano a little bit more credit than Taillon. Taillon more prone to giving up some power, and I like that Angels lineup with the power they're showing. But both sides of that game, just given the environment, are looking more like pitcher-friendly spots. Kodai Senga, great spot against that Cardinals lineup. We will see what he's got. I'm not loving it at 86. 74 on DraftKings is fine. Brandon Pfaadt against Detroit, kind of the same thing. 68 on DraftKings, perfectly fine. 83 on FanDuel, just kind of caught in the middle. Not a great projection, not a great spot. Bybee, Not at 9 against the Dodgers, 8. I don't really like it. How about Parker Messick yesterday, by the way? What do you go, 6? Shut down the 6 shutout against the Dodgers, I believe. Killer spot. Jose Suarez, for 55-63. Not a good spot against that Athletics team, but that is super cheap for a guy who maybe gives you 5 okay innings. Not a lot there, but other than price. Mize, again, I do like him. We'll use him in spots, but probably not here. Very, very cheap on DraftKings, though, at least worth mentioning that cheap price. Bayo's a no. Savali, Marquez, Palente, and Feltner are all no's. Getting into the game by game. Trey McKell's here. What's going on, Trey? Haven't been playing. I saw you live. Wanted to pop in. I appreciate you, buddy. Appreciate the view. Hit the like button for me as well. Haven't mentioned that yet. Hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Scrolling across the bottom of your screen, you should see the promo code OD26 between now and April 1st, which is tomorrow. This has been running since last week. Opening day 26, OD26 gets you a $15 first month on a monthly or a $4 first week on a weekly. And that is roughly 33% off on the monthly. Similar kind of a discount on the weekly. Rotoscouts is always under $1 a day, and that gets you all the baseball content. You get baseball hitter projections, pitcher projections, top stacks, power index, home run picks, game-by-game snapshots where you get this statistical board all laid out for you so you can see all the individual matchups yourself and go through it all. It also gets you NBA projections and NHL projections for every single main slate. Those are up on the website right now. So check out rotoscouts.com. Use that promo code OD26. We'll have some free pieces here and there during the week. I haven't picked which days and which pieces of content yet, but we'll get that going a little bit to promote as well. Trey says, can't believe I'm saying this as well. Go Yankees. Need someone to take out the Dodgers. I don't know if it's going to be my Yankees. It might be more go Mariners, go Blue Jays in that respect. But yeah, Yanks will be in the mix, hopefully. We'll see how it shakes out. I don't love that they didn't make many upgrades from last year's team. I was talking about it with a friend the other day. I think the big upgrade they're counting on is obviously getting Garrett Cole back. But Cole, Carlos Rodon, both out for extended periods of time to start the season isn't great. Don't love the depth of the pitching staff. Don't love the bullpen. The bullpen, though, they tend to shape their bullpens as the season goes on. The offense will be great. But, yeah, not crazy optimistic about the chances of getting over the top. I think they're a playoff team again, Division Series, Championship Series, somewhere in there. But taking down the World Series, tall order is the roster structured right now. Big George rolling over in his grave, just nonstop the last couple of years with the way they're treating these off seasons. Colorado Rockies, 327 implied total, one of the lowest spots on the board, going up against Max Scherzer. Again, Max last year, 17 starts, 85 innings, as he's dealing with, obviously age, a little bit of diminishment, but there was that ongoing thumb injury. Pitched to a 5.19 ERA, but a 4.56 xFIP below that, and an even nicer 4.26 SIERA, which is a better indicator. 16.5 strikeout minus walk rate is not great. It was 22% strikeout rate against 6.4% walk, so it was an average strikeout rate, average-ish walk rate. The halcyon days for Max, obviously, we were dealing with a much higher strikeout rate and a better pitcher overall. But if he's healthy, I'm interested. He gave up a lot of premium contact last year because he wasn't spotting his pitches quite well enough. And the stuff just wasn't working dynamically well enough. Barrels 12.4%. Obviously, a lot of fly balls there. Hard hit exit velo, not problematic, but it led to a lot of circumstantial fly balls. He's just giving up some premium contact in the wrong spot on this kind of an average launch. You're going to have balls travel out of the park from time to time in the wrong guy, wrong spot. So you take some of the circumstance from last year away, just the happenstance, the bad luck. You take away the injury thing. Now we've got maybe a workable version of Max, and we're going up against the Rockies. Love the spot. Too cheap in my mind on both sides. Ryan Feltner, we just don't want. 18.5% strikeout rate, over 30 and a third in 6 starts last season, 25.4% CSW, a 4.75 ERA, 4.63 SIERA. Just not much here. Below average pitcher across the board. Significantly below average. So we're just looking to target him with Blue Jays bats, and Vegas is screaming at us with the 5.35 implied total being the highest on the board. If you're going to the Rockies, McCarthy in the leadoff spot. Obviously, this team paid off like a slot machine yesterday, but that's really all they're going to be this season. You pull the lever here and there. Obviously, in their home games, it's a different story. In their home games, I like them a lot because they tend to be under-owned compared to the visiting team, which makes sense. They're the worst team. But there's something to getting to them at home. On the road, it was down to just Cody Ponce getting hurt yesterday. But here and there, they will come through. McCarthy, 29-24, just another outfielder to lead off. Had a terrible season last year in 222. He's a little better than those numbers, but not somebody you really want to get invested in. Hunter Goodman, if you're going to this team, is your priority. 12.41 in the home run model, given how much Max gave up last year. That's a fair bet for power there. 12.6% barrel rate, hit 31 bombs, 359 WOBA, but only a 324 xWOBA. I think I called that out yesterday. That is a concerning number. That could lead to a lot of the production going down, but I don't think it necessarily impacts the power so much as it impacts the front end, the 278 average and 323 on base. But something to keep an eye on with Goodman. Willie Castro, solid utility guy. You can move him all around for a very cheap price, $28.25. Hitting third in this lineup, off to a good start. He's much better than those numbers from last year. Always capable of putting up some decent counting stats for fantasy. Miscast as a featured player on a team. He's a role player, but since they're using him that way, we can use him that way until he gets more expensive. Ezekiel Tovar, believe he went deep yesterday. 3,600, 2,800. A lot of ability to hit for power. There's a lot of swing and miss in his game. If he's managing that, he's a better option than he might otherwise be. Hitting cleanup at shortstop for a cheap price, though, not a bad option if you're determined to play this team. In a vacuum against all the other shortstops on the board, though, not important to this slate. TJ Rumsfeld and Rumfield, I got to get used to saying that. Give him the S again. TJ Rumfield and Troy Johnston, pair of lefties, maybe a little bit of pop in the bats. Johnston was decent, 9.3% barrel, 40+% hard hit last year. Didn't really lead anywhere in 121 plate appearances. Did hit 4 home runs. Had a 341 xWOB under the surface, which is a nice indicator, 109 WRC plus in the small sample. So a little bit of him, a little bit of Rumfield. You can get them both on DraftKings if you want, first base and outfield eligible. Brenton Doyle has a little bit of power in 2020 upside, maybe a little bit more in a good year. Last year, not necessarily a good year, 15 home runs, 18 stolen bases. The peripherals, terrible, 233, 274, 376, terrible slash line, amounted to a 65 WRC plus last year. He's lucky he's a fantastic defensive center fielder, otherwise he might not have a job anymore. Kyle Karras, Ryan Ritter, just mix and match options in your infield at the bottom. On the Blue Jays, we talked already about George Springer's monster bounce back season last year, and the big indicator that I just want to remind everybody of that I called out, I think, on the last couple shows where we've had Springer is this, right? Everything about this tells us that everything about this was real. Does he repeat? Probably not. He's 36 going on 100. But he was a former superstar who had been diminished and came roaring back to life. I'm not betting against him in most scenarios. 55-36, I think, is appropriate pricing. 8.85 in the home run model going up against Ryan Feltner. Absolutely, if you're going to Blue Jays, you prioritize some George Springer. Jesus Sanchez has not been priced up despite a good start, which is fantastic because we can take advantage of that left-handed power against this pitcher. 11.1% barrel rate. I highlighted it yesterday. Excellent barrel rates and hard hits each of the last few seasons. Cut strikeout last year in a bad season. 14 home runs, 13 stolen bases. Okay for counting stats, but 237, 304, 395, and a 93 WRC plus. He is a big left-handed bat. I mean, physically large. Somebody in the chat was saying, oh, Vladdy, how does he have similar, power upside to Vladdy? Vladdy's huge. And Vladdy, I looked it up, is 6 foot, 245. Legitimately huge guy. Jesus Sanchez, 6'3", 225. So a little thinner, but taller. Big dude. A lot of power there. Has always made great contact. Just needs to get more reliable. I love this spot, and I love that spot in this lineup for Jesus Sanchez, especially at these prices. Probably going to get a little bit popular. Vladdy at 6 at 39 against Ryan Feltner. Sign me up. Kaz Okamoto. I took the junior off. Why did it not come back? What the hell is going on with this stacks board? The thing is, it was working yesterday, and I didn't update anything. Like, I didn't change that because we're only dealing with last year's stats still. Did I take the junior? I don't know. Whatever. We all know Vladdy's fantastic. We don't have to worry about it. Fortunately, impacts Vladdy, Fernando Tatis, Victor Scott. I don't remember who else. Victor Scott's the second. Kaz Okamoto? Who told you Kaz Okamoto was going to hit a home run yesterday? I did. Kaz, first major league home run, 4,300, 2,800. Great numbers in NPB. Looking like a player who's going to be immediately able to handle major league pitching. Great spot in this lineup, hitting cleanup. Nathan Luke's good ability to get on base, drives the ball a little bit. It didn't really show through the barrel rate, through the hard hit, but did hit a dozen home runs in 438 chances last year. Just a solid average type player, though. 317 WOBA, 314 expected. Ernie Clement, good utility guy, move them all around, 3,500, 3,000, plays 4 positions on FanDuel, second base, third base, kind of key positions in the infield on DraftKings. Never going to be a totally reliable DFS option because he doesn't really hit for power, but what he does do is put the ball in play, limit strikeouts, limit walks. Last year, a lot of success, 277, 313, 398. I'd rather have more on base and, if it's at the expense of batting average, but we draw a few more walks, expensive balls in play, give me a little bit more on base out of a player like Ernie. But you take what you get with him. He's a fortune, kind of a spin the wheel, see what you get type player, given those that hit tool ability. Dalton Varsho, a lot of power, very good defensive outfielder, 20 home runs in 271 chances last year. When he's in the lineup, there's plenty of lefty pop there against a player like Ryan Feltner from the 7 spot. You hope he gets a little bit lighter ownership, especially given the price uptick compared to a few guys hitting in front of him. Maybe that renders him a little lower owned than he ought to be, but he's also no secret in this lineup. Tyler Heineman and Andres Jimenez mix and match pieces down the bottom. Heineman, serviceable numbers from the catcher, 361 on base, most particularly last season, 341 WOBA, a 273 xWOBA. So probably some regression coming here. 120 WRC plus in that small sample, but do not expect him to repeat. That said, didn't really strike out very much. Didn't draw a ton of walks, a lot of success on his contact. And Jimenez, half a season, pretty bad last year, but a little bit better than that. Once upon a time, was a very, very highly touted prospect. This goes Blue Jays bats, Max Scherzer for a big discount against the worst team in baseball. Rockies bats, wouldn't play Ryan Feltner. Matt, what's going on? Max plays Z123. John Hansa calls out rain possibilities in the Chicago and LA. Yeah, I know it's just bad conditions out in Chicago. I didn't actually stop to look up the individual spots for weather. What's Roth's news site? How do you not have a link? Prop Finder. That's where he is. Kevin Roth, the weatherman, no longer at RG. He's over at Prop Finder now. Has a nice big new dashboard for us. So, yeah, it looks like 60% chance of rain out in LA. 65-degree night, so a little bit of caution there. Could impact Ohtani a little bit just because of how precious he is. I don't know that they would stop and start him, and especially with a couple delays. The Cards game, 36% chance. It's been really warm out there to start the season. It's down to 79 today. 36% chance of rain there. And then, over at Wrigley, 62% chance of rain. And most importantly, 45 degrees and the wind blowing in at 17 miles an hour. That's why you're a 3-run swing from where it was yesterday. All the other games, perfectly fine. So the A's and the Braves here. Jose Suarez worked mostly in relief last season, 19 1/3, made 1 start, sub 20% strikeout rate, 12.3% walk rate. Doesn't look like a great option here. Scrolling over, 3 starts the year before, a lot of relief work, 23.3% strikeout rate's a little bit better, but still walked 11.3, pitched to a 4.42 xFIP that season, 17% strikeout against 12.1 over 33 2/3 in 7 starts the year before. That was pretty bad. I just don't really see a lot of opportunity to go here. Lefty, I guess maybe you play the lefty-lefty game against Kurtz and Soderstrom, gives you a little bit of upside, Lawrence Butler, but there are right-handed mashers in this A's lineup, so I don't really want any part of Jose Suarez. Even at price, there's not a great argument to be made for him. On the other side, Aaron Savali at 65.84. You can maybe make a light argument for taking a guy like him who's just a frustrating guy from time to time, can break off a good start, kind of like what Elder did yesterday. We talked about Elder being just kind of mediocre, but he had a great start against this hard-hitting A's team. You can see it work for Savali in similar fashion in the opposite direction. There are some strikeouts through this Braves lineup, but it's a high danger spot. Vegas is pushing a 5+ implied total in Atlanta's direction. I just wouldn't want to go to Savali here, especially not at 84 on FanDuel. At 65 on DK, I think he's at least in that low-end SP2 bucket, where if you're building 150 lineups, a handful of shares is fine. Again, last year, 20% strikeout rate, 8.6% swinging, 26.1 CSW, just nothing there. 45 ERA, xFIP and Sierra don't really do anything to move that needle. Year before, 4.31 xFIP against a 4.36 ERA, just 21% strikeout. At 23% strikeout there with a 3.46 ERA, 4.10 xFIP was a little bit better in there. And that's where that pocket of starts were where he was really good and pushed the strikeouts up into like the upper 20s over 9 games that we're still talking about 2 years later. So we probably don't go to Savali outside of a few SP2 cheapo darts, bargain bin type darts on DraftKings. Jake Wilson from the top of the A's, pulling a 4 implied total for the team. Not great, but definitely some upside. Right? If we're looking for potentially under-owned upside teams, the A's, with just all their hulking power in the middle of the lineup, 3 guys above the magic number in the home run model, a 4th just underneath it with plenty of power against a low-end, nothing kind of pitcher. The one thing that Suarez didn't do last year was give up the home run, though. You got to at least give him credit for that. So he does have a little impact there. Season before was a little bit more barrel. Launch angle still all right. A little bit more home run. Year before that was atrocious for home runs. So, I mean, we're talking about limited sample overall. We don't really know what the truth of that is. So A's, if they're under-owned, seems like a fair enough spot, at least to have some. I don't know if we really, really aggressively push it, given where Vegas has them. But at least to have some. That makes sense. Wilson, fantastic hit tool off the top to get things started. 311, 355 in the slash line last year, 121 WRC plus. Just needs to get on base, continue just lightly putting the ball into play. He's another one of these just low strikeout, low walk rate guys. Just needs good fortune via the balls in play, and he's very good at directing those balls. Shea Langoliers, especially with Wilson getting on in front of him, love the opportunity to drive the kid in. 31 home runs last year, off to a dynamite start this year. It's dynamite again. Off to a killer start this year. Nick Kurtz mashed the world last season, 36 homers in fewer than 500 plate appearances, one of the best rookie seasons you will ever see. Struck out 30% of the time, but drew a 12.9% walk rate, the only double-digit walk rate on this team, or in this version of this team last year. Fantastic option. Price like it, though. $5,300 on DraftKings, $4,100 on FanDuel. Very expensive. Well worth it, even lefty-lefty, especially against a lefty like this. Brent Rooker, major right-handed power, tremendous option from the middle. $5,100, only $2,900 on FanDuel. That's another good reason to go to the A's. A lot of time I'll say there's not a good reason to go to this team, but if you're already so on and so forth, this is a good reason to go to the team on FanDuel. $2,900 Brent Rooker is just incorrect. Take that 4-man, you're dealing with $3,450 is entirely affordable. It's not crazy cheap, but it's entirely affordable for that 4-man. Going down that way, you add you take Soderstrom instead of Wilson, you add 100 and change to it, $35.25. So it's a fair price with that discount on Rooker. These guys are both expensive, but justifiably so. That is a nice discount. Over here, doesn't work quite the same way. $4,600 for Tyler Soderstrom. Monster barrel rate. Excellent hard hit rate, right in line with these other guys last season. Came up a little bit lighter for power, but still did hit 25 home runs in his first full season of the show. Loved him last year. Really like the upside this year. Max Muncy, this one, multi-position eligible, cheap. A little bit of power showing, 5.03 in the home run model. Not completely dead at the plate. Way too many strikeouts against way too few walks last season. Had a terrible year last year, 72 WRC plus. Andy Ibanez, Denzel Clark, mix and match, if that. Options from the bottom. Denzel Clark not showing much of a bat so far. Lawrence Butler has given us 20 years, 21 homers and 22 stolen bases last season. Terrible year otherwise, 96 WRC plus, 310 WOB against the 305 expected mark. Not great, but that is probably your most productive option from the bottom 4 down there. On the Braves side, team you actually want to get to here. Again, Ronnie Acuna, I got to unscrew that, whatever I did to that junior lookup for the stats, but again, doesn't impact any of your projections. This is just for these show dashboards that problem exists. Drake Baldwin, 41. Ronnie Acuna is a superstar you always play him when you're going to the Braves. I don't think I need to sell him to anybody. Should put up major numbers this year if he's fully healthy all season long. Little diminishment in power in his sample last year. Major dip in speed. I don't know that we get the stolen bases back. I don't know that they let him fully unleashed kind of run, but maybe we get 20. I mean, he's still going to be good at stealing bases when he does it. Drake Baldwin, 41, 3,000, hitting second in this lineup. Killer bat, 274, 341, 469. Excellent numbers for a catcher and playing basically every day. Love the option. He's not really expensive for 41 for 3,000, given his upside NL Rookie of the Year last year. That is a pretty decent catcher option, even as a one-off on DraftKings. Get him lefty-righty against Aaron Savali, too. Matt Olson, another big lefty bat, 49, 34, 29 homers last year. A little bit of a step backward last season, but it wasn't because he wasn't barreling the ball. Barrel rate actually went up year over year. Hard hit rate did as well. So we're looking for a nice return to form, 30-plus home runs out of Olson. Definitely looking for the return to form out of Austin Riley. Haven't seen much yet. 16 home runs last year. I think 19 the year before that. It's in here, but I don't feel like scrolling over. That was after several consecutive seasons of 30-plus. Still made great contact the last couple seasons, though. So given this, there's every expectation that the power is going to come back for Austin Riley and he'll get things going. Mike Yastrzemski on this team now. Interesting enough, lefty bat. He's cheap, 3,900, 2,700. We know there's a little pop in the middle of that, in that bat in the middle of the lineup. 17 homers last year, just a 170 ISO, 321 WOBA, 329 expected. No major underperformance or overperformance. 106 WRC plus last season. Year before, hit 18 home runs. Had a better 206 ISO, 106 WRC plus, 15 the year before that with a 212 ISO. So some of the power was out, even though it didn't show in the home runs. Power was down a little bit last year for Yaz. You can see it in the barrel rate a little bit. Barrel slipped from 10.5 and 9.8 down to 8%. Hard hit was right about the same. And some of that shows in the home run total staying basically the same, but lost a little bit around the edges in some of the extra base hits otherwise. Ozzie Albies, a couple diminished seasons, but a good player still lurks in there. 16 homers, 14 steals. At least he fills counting stats. Same is true about Michael Harris, 2020 last season, but diminished across the board. Another player, his numbers are showing, even though he's Michael Harris second. Maybe I didn't get around to changing that one. But they're not showing in the barrel. See, this is inconsistent. That's what's making it weird, is the inconsistencies. Not really sure what's going on there, but again, just the dashboards. Dom Smith, Mauricio Dubon down the bottom of the lineup. Smith every now and then can turn on one. More of an average hitter. 284, 333, 417 over 225 opportunities last year. 111 WRC plus, though, was a productive bat last year. And then Dubon's just a spot filler, good utility man. 4 positions on FanDuel is useful. If you're going to this team a lot, you can just use him as a piece to, move around, get to different combinations of guys. But that's really the extent of Dubon's value. Nothing really 2 years ago, 87 WRC plus, 97 the year before that back in 2023. Braves bats, A's bats. Suarez, Savali, but wouldn't really want either one of them. Or I guess Savali, Suarez. Again, wouldn't really want either one of them. McClanahan. This is the wrong price. Like I was saying in the windup. 10-4. I just don't think we're getting depth. I certainly don't think we're getting a quality start. I don't see him completing 6 innings here. Again, we don't have stats from those 2 seasons. You saw him for 21 starts, 115 innings back in 23, 25.8% strikeout against the 8.7 walk, 3.29 ERA, but a 3.85 xFIP. 15% swinging strike rate is great. CSW is 31.4. Give up a little bit of premium contact, though. So if you're giving up walks, xFIP was half a run higher or so than the ERA. You have a lot of barrels. That's pushing the threshold on barrels. Over the line on hard hits, just under on exit velo, 3.20% home run. So there's justifiable expectation for some of the righty power maybe to come through for the Brewers. But McClanahan, I like him. I really do think he has a good start here for when he's available for the probably 5 innings we get him. So at 83 on DraftKings, even against the productive Brewers lineup, that, as we've talked about a few times already, excels at getting on base, wreaking havoc, and creating runs, but maybe not the best in terms of power upside, in terms of individual fantasy players. Christian Yelich is in the lineup, though. That's good. Lefty. Grab the confirmed here. Ooh, 517. I got to pick up the pace. All right, so getting through this. Yelich is in the lineup. We do get Gary Sanchez in the spot against the lefty. Like the power upside there. So I think it's kind of a both-sided situation. You can make a little bit of a case for getting to some of the Brewers. It will probably be a little bit light ownership given McClanahan on the mound, and could make a case for DraftKings ownership of McClanahan, but probably still a little conservative even in that sense, because, again, you're probably not looking like at a crazy ceiling unless he's striking out the world in those 5 innings that we're giving him. On the other side, Woodruff, I have probably around the same amount of faith in getting anything more than just 5 innings. Because, again, just wasn't stretched out in spring, was dealing with injuries, only made 2 spring starts. We might even be limited to fewer than 5 innings on Woodruff. So I think you're getting, at most, those projections. Those are closer to ceiling numbers. So just be a little bit concerned with that. But given the matchup, he's probably on the better side of the matchup. Raised bats, though, very effective, especially up at the top. Love Yandy Diaz. They're talking about him on Central this morning, just how underrated he is. And I totally agree. Not often I'll say that, but it's about that show. But I totally agree. 300, 366, 482 last season, hit 25 homers, a 354 xWOBA creator, runs 35% better than average by WRC+. Just a tremendous right-handed bat to get things started. And then you get Jonathan Aranda, who hit the ball as hard as anybody. 14 home runs, a tremendous slash line last season. 381, 382 xWOBA and WOBA. Just fantastic year. 146 WRC+. Another guy probably a little bit underappreciated for what he is. 45-33 also. Not bad for that kind of lefty pop in this spot. You like him if he repeats those contact numbers. You like him to hit more than 14 home runs. Junior Caminero, 59, 39, 45 homers last year. Just an outrageous season for a kid who was, 21 last year? Just stupid good. Kid's ridiculous, well worth that money, even against a pitcher like Woodruff. The only player on the Rays, though, over the magic number today at 12.26. Jake Fraley, Ben Williamson, Cedric Mullins, Nick Fortes, Chandler Simpson, Carson Williams. Like I said, this team kind of thins out after you get through the first few bats. Fraley's okay. He's a serviceable enough outfielder. Bad 217 plate appearances. 97, though, is the highest of those guys via WRC Plus last year. The guys I'm probably most interested in are the guys who can create a little chaos out there. Cedric Mullins, 17 homers, 22 steals last year, multiple 2020 and beyond seasons in his career. A capable enough fantasy contributor. Not a great year last year. Sub 300 on base is problematic. 94 WRC+. And then Chandler Simpson. Give me a kid with a really good hit tool. He hit 295 last year. We don't totally care about batting average, but he did hit 295. He puts a lot of balls in play, and he's got absurd speed. If you remember going into last season, we're talking about in the minors, he would hit little choppers back to the pitcher and beat him to first base. It was insane speed. 100 stolen base upside if he's getting on better than 326. Stole 44 and 441 plate appearances last year. Nick Fortes is just okay. Carson Williams just okay. Ben Williamson hitting fifth at 24-23. Second base eligible on DraftKings. 269 xWOBA next to his 269 WOBA last year. I think just kind of is who he is on the surface there, which was not a good ball player over 295 plate appearances. On the Milwaukee side, Bryce Turang, excellent season last year. D-Row was calling for him to hit 30 bombs this year. I don't know if I totally agree with that. We saw, and we've talked about the tripling of his barrel rate year over year from who he once was to last year's numbers. Monster uptick in hard hit rate, but I don't know that he's got more to unlock beyond that. It would be something to see if he does. 18 homers, 24 steals, a 124 WRC+, 335 xWOBA tells us that he actually overperformed last season, D-Row. But a very, very good option for fantasy. Fills categories across the board because he hits for average. He gets on base like crazy. Lutheran Efo, 31-23, bad year last year, better player than those numbers. Can fill some categories, okay for your mid-range power, 12-15 home run type power, some stolen bases. Needs to do better than last year or he will be replaced, though. William Contreras at 45-34, underappreciated catcher. 17 homers, a 355 on base last season, 331 xWOBA, 113 WRC+. Yelich is a star, 48 homers, 4,800, 3,700 on FanDuel. If you hit 48 homers, it would be even better. 29 homers, though, in his return to form last year. Major upside, but lefty year, against the lefty of the quality of McClanahan, not ideal at those prices, especially on a team that you're not necessarily going to. 3,600 for Gary Sanchez, 7.34 leads the team in the home run model. Another season of dynamite batted ball events from Sanchez last year. 10.8% barrel rate, 56.9% hard hit rate. Only amounted to 5 home runs and 101 plate appearances, 187 ISO. But Gary's never been bad. He's always been good for contact, double-digit barrel rates every year that I can ever remember of his career. Has always been good for hitting home runs when he's given the opportunity. Which line is he on? 5. 11 homers in 280 plate appearances 2 years ago. 19 in 267 2 years before that. What Gary's not good at is hitting for average, getting on base, all the other things you would ask somebody to do. But as a cheapo dart throw against the lefty and probably 4 innings of a bullpen, there's upside in Gary Sanchez. You could also get him pinch hit for later in the game, though, if they bring a righty in out of the pen. Jake Bauers, a lot of upside there. Tons of barrels, tons of hard hit last year. I like him to hit more than the 7 home runs if he gets more plate appearances this year. But there's a lot of premium contact going on with Jake Bauers. Draws a lot of walks as well. Double-digit walk rates each of the last 2 years. 14-7 last year supported that 353 on base. And an underappreciated 218 plate appearances last season. fully healthy year this year with more opportunity, like the upside. Lockridge, Sal Frelick, and Joey Ortiz. Ortiz has more skill than what we saw on display last year. Lockridge, we'll see what it becomes. 231, 276, 299. Bad 148 plate appearances last year, but he's cheap. Sal Frelick's the go-to guy down there. Hits for average, gets on base like crazy, steals bases, mid-type home run hitter, 12 home runs, maybe 15 home run upside in a full season. 114 WRC plus last season. I'm stumbling all over the place today. 2 short starts on the starters makes it problematic for ranking things, but it's probably Woodruff, McClanahan, Brewers, Rays in that order. Somewhat four cornersy, somewhat don't really want any of the 4 things because, again, short start potentially. Medium strength offense, lower end offense, except for these 3 guys. Jose Soriano making his second start. Again, the first one, very, very good. First start of the season for Soriano, went 6, 7 strikeouts, 2-hitter, no runs. That was against Houston at Houston. Gets the Cubs in this ridiculous low-end offensive environment. That should work completely in his favor. Again, the thing we love about Soriano is his ability to limit home runs. So if you're also adding in a 17-mile-an-hour wind blowing in toward home plate, yeah, that works. Maybe it messes him up in terms of his control. He does walk a lot of hitters, so that could get away from him with the wind at his back. But love the opportunity for him if he's on to suppress this Cubs offense, good as they can be. And you can see that impact that he's having. Nobody on this team except for Michael Busch in the leadoff spot above even halfway to the magic number compared to where they were yesterday. Not the same story on the other side. The Angels showing some power. That's fighting through that run line. What I don't have in here is like a way to put my thumb on the scale other than just actually putting my thumb on the scale and changing these numbers for something like the wind. Right? There's not really that win factor outside of the fact that it's baked into that 7-run total. So these are their numbers against that, but it's their numbers against that run total a little bit more than their numbers against that wind. So just bear that in mind when evaluating, but I still do love Neto, Trout, Soler, and Joey Adell in terms of their ability to just any one of them to go deep any given slate. And against a pitcher like Jameson Taillon, who gave up a 4.62% home run rate last season, pitching many of his games in this exact environment, I'll add, over 23 starts while striking out fewer than 20%. I like the upside for the Angels. If one of these teams breaks out today, it's more likely, in my opinion, to be the lower implied total Angels. But most likely, that just amounts to a big run scoring double in a bad offensive environment. Maybe a solo home run or a 2-run homer and a low scoring game overall. If you're looking down that Angels lineup, not only do they have the guys I mentioned, also Jeimer Candelario hiding in there. Dead min price on FanDuel, third base and first base eligible. Lost season last year, only 91 plate appearances, but this is a power hitter. It's another interesting enough bat. 20 homers in 463 2 years ago. 22 in 576 plate appearances 2 years in 2023. Switch hitter, decent upside. You can see not crushing numbers in the home run model, but that's an interesting bat, especially at that price tag on FanDuel. 2,900 is not exactly expensive on the DraftKings slate. Soler off to a decent start. Had a bad year last year. The power was way down, only made 315 plate appearances. That's why the prices are so low. I think we take advantage now because if he continues along, those prices are going to go back up. Nolan Schanuel's just an odd base hit to a kind of a guy, but a good cog in the machine here, especially if Mike Trout clears the bases or Trout Neto do their thing up top. Schanuel can kind of reset things, reload for Soler, Candelario, Adell, Josh Lowe. Neto's fantastic shortstop option, only 46 on DK, 34 on FanDuel. Mid-board type pricing. Those aren't bad. 4,800 from Mike Trout feels like a little bit of a discount on DraftKings as well. 38 on FanDuel, 200 shy of the $4,000 mark. I don't want to call it necessarily a discount because he wasn't the Mike Trout of old last year, but he still made great contact. Struck out too much, but drew a ton of walks. Didn't hit for average, but still got on base like crazy. Had a 200-plus ISO. Crater runs 20% better than average. 343 WOBA, which is good, not superstar, but still very good. 358 xWOBA, which is even better. Joe Adell for 43 and just 29 on FanDuel, hit 37 homers last year. We're just looking at Adell for the power upside, so maybe not the best environment to get to him. But again, look at the barrel rates on these guys, the hard hit rates. These are just some of the best raw power hitters in the game. And Joe Adele is on that list. Elite swing speed, ridiculous premium contact when he makes contact. He just doesn't make contact as frequently as you would want. But when he does, ball travels. Josh Lowe, mix and match quality outfielder, maybe a little bit more upside for that. We've seen him be better than last year. 11 homers, 18 stolen bases, mid-board side power and stolen base upside. Logan O'Hoppe, a lot of barrels, hard hits last year. Didn't amount to very much. Did hit 19 home runs, but a bad overall season, 72 WRC plus. And then Oswald Peraza, I mentioned him yesterday. He proceeded to go over 3, I want to say. But an interesting enough option if he keeps getting plate appearances down the bottom of this lineup with first, second eligibility on DraftKings for cheap, second, third, and short on FanDuel for cheap. That's not an uninteresting player given his prospect pedigree. Still only 25 years old. This team's into the reclamation project idea. 2020 candidate when he was coming up through the minors. So somebody to watch, somebody to maybe throw into a couple lineups if you're building an abundance of Angel stacks, but a bad hitting environment today. Cubbies, same hitting environment as the Angels are dealing with. Bush, again, highest ranked in the home run model today. Hit 34 last year. Major upside for power. Handful of strikeouts along the way, but he cut strikeout from 33 down to 28 and then did it again down to 23 last year. A lot of upside for the contact that he makes. Alex Bregman, new home, 18 homers last year in a good, not great season. I mentioned it yesterday. Give him back those 150 plate appearances that he lost. I like him to go even beyond the numbers that we got. So continue to like the upside for Bregman, and 45-31 is entirely reasonable for him. Ian Happ hit our home run yesterday as the home run pick of the day. Home run picks are on the board. Take that, Vito, if you're out there. Where's Vito today, by the way? Notice he didn't come back. Or maybe he did. Maybe he's in chat right now. I'm not looking at it. So Happ, I'd like him to come right back. A little bit more power upside, but again, bad spot for it. Any given slate, though, Ian Happ is a good home run hitter who gets on base. Very, very good fantasy contributor who's always priced kind of in the middle of the board while hitting in the heart of this lineup. PCA, we talked about the first half, second half issues last year. Could have been a much better season than what looks like on paper a very, very good season. 31 homers, 35 stolen bases, just a 109 WRC plus. Slipped a little bit, 323 WOBA, 321 X WOBA. Looked like it was going to be an outrageous season and just became a very good season in the overall. But if you had him a lot through the second half, a lot of disappointing DFS days. Nico Horner, good player, steals a lot of bases, gets on base, good hit tool. Another guy, low strikeout, low walk rate. So just a lot of balls in play, even though they're not particularly well struck. Carson Kelly, cheap power upside from the catcher. Same thing with Moises Ballesteros. You get righty-lefty combo there. Dansby Swanson, underappreciated shortstop. A lot of barrels and hard hits out of Dansby the last handful of years. 24 homers, 20 steals last year. And then Michael Conforto. We talked about the disappearance of his on-base ability, his hit tool, but the power from the left side could still potentially come back on the back of some good premium contact numbers. So that's what we're looking for, just cheap lefty pop from the bottom. But again, probably not the right pitcher or hitting environment to do that in. Jose Soriano, Angels bats, Cubs bats, Jameson Taillon. You could honestly rank Jameson Taillon ahead of the Cubs bats today. I wouldn't do it because I don't want to tell anybody to go play Jameson Taillon. Ugly 8 game, scared of the rain. Yeah, I mentioned the rain. I try not to play weatherman too much. Leave that for you guys to make your own decisions on, but definitely something to be aware of. 62% chance of rain out there. 7:40 start, so it's not crazy late. We might get, delay news prior to lock, but keep your eye on it. It's just bad conditions overall, but definitely favors pitching more than hitting. Meach, I don't think so. We're talking about Suarez, the Braves pitcher. I don't see it. He was bad in the last 3 seasons of hybrid work, long relief. Assuming that's the Suarez you're talking about, I don't see it. It's a low total on the other side. I'll give him that much. There are plenty of strikeouts to go find through there. But it's a high danger lineup. I prefer the A's back and forth there. Mentioned the Mets pulling a great total and one of the top ranked teams on our stacks board. Love the just makeup of this lineup. Made a lot of changes over the last couple of seasons. This year bringing in Bo Bichette, Lubob. Tons of upside here for New York. They can get it done in a lot of different ways. You look down the bottom of the lineup. This is the confirmed version. Marcus Semien, maybe we're past his prime, but that's a guy just dangerous enough still, lurking down the bottom of the lineup, that people aren't going to play all that much, even when they go to the Mets. 3,100, 2,900, just fill second base, a weak position overall. And you take what you get. You're going to get plate appearances basically every single day. You're going to get some balls in play. He only struck out 17.4% of the time last year, 14.6 the year before that, 14.6 the year before that one. Draws his walks, so you'll get some on base in addition to the balls in play. It's a guy who only 15 home runs and 11 stolen bases last year as he's getting older. He's aging out of the sport. The year before, still hit 23 homers in a very similar season as far as the slash line goes, because he made 718 plate appearances that year versus only 534 last year. So some of the counting stats, the numbers alongside the slash line, are only down somewhat artificially because of the lack of almost 200 plate appearances year over year. Scored 100 plus runs that year. Nothing predictive about that. That it says nothing about the player that he is, but those runs count for fantasy points. 99 WRC plus that season. That wasn't even a good season. Year before that, his hit tool was still intact, getting on base like crazy. Also drove in 100, hit 29 home runs, had a 124 WRC plus, 201 ISO. We're not crazy far removed from that guy. And again, a lot of the diminishment has more to do with the lack of those 200 plate appearances. Slash line you expect to be down, but a little bit of power coming back in the 22 to 25 home run range over the full season wouldn't completely stun me. And I would say I almost expect him to have at least a 105 WRC plus, somewhere in that range, just by product of being in a better lineup. Not making the argument that Marcus Semion's ever going back to what he once was, but I think he's better than last year. I think he's an interesting option on an almost daily basis at these prices, unless things change. Carson Bench is interesting, but he's getting a little buzzy. 2,900, 2,700, off to a great start for his career. Luis Torrens, mix and match quality catcher at 25-23, 5 home runs. If you need the price discount, you're building a lot of Met stacks, fine, but it's not a guy you want to prioritize. What I will throw into the mix for him, though, sub 20% strikeout rate last year, 21.3 the year before that. And look at all the barrels and hard hits. Didn't amount to much offense at all. 79 WRC plus. But you can see all those barrels and the hard hits in that 338 xWOBA that was hiding under that atrocious 278 actual. So there is a better player than what we've seen in there. It's just a matter of whether he ever finds it, puts it together. But those batted ball events were high-quality batted ball events. So don't be shocked if Luis Torrens turns in a decent performance from time to time at these cheapo backup catcher prices. The more obvious guys starting back up at the top, Francisco Lindor. They were marveling on the broadcast yesterday, back-to-back days with triples after not tripling all last year. To me, that's more of an indicator that we're kind of right, that he's still going to be fantastic, but maybe we see a few little diminishment in his home run total given the hamate bone injury. Of course, on the other side, Corbin Carroll, same injury, overcame that. Did he hit two yesterday or just one? He had a great game yesterday. I know he hit at least one home run. But I like both of those guys to underperform for power in the long term this season while remaining excellent because of all the tools they have. 5-tool players who fill every fantasy category. So Lindor, fire away, 52, 4,000. He's still a superstar. Juan Soto at 63, 43, just best pure hitter in baseball. Go to him anytime, any day, at any price. Bo Bichette, 48, 31. Off to a bad start with the Mets, but a good hitter who really had a solid redemption year last year. 311, 357, 483 career runs, 34% better than average. Should be a player who has a good season. A lot of well-struck balls in play out of Bo Bichette. He's 14.5% strikeout against 6.5% walk last season and a 48.8% hard hit rate. Big part of that monster year. Lou Bob, terrible season last year, diminished season the year before. We know there's a superstar talent-wise in there. We just need him to get re-engaged with the idea of playing baseball all the time and being on a good team. So hopefully this is the spot. 46-36. He's priced like a star. Jared Young for the dead min on DraftKings may be interesting. 47 plate appearances, did have a 14.3% barrel rate and probably what was 8 batted ball events over that stretch. But at those prices, dead min on both sites, hitting 5th, lefty bat against Andre Palante. That's kind of interesting on a team that we want to get to and want to get to sort of aggressively today. So he's going to be in lineups. Struck out 34% of the time in that small sample. KBO, just 169 plate appearances in 2024, did hit 10 home runs with a fantastic slash line in that small sample. Minor leagues, last season, in mostly AAA, 18 home runs, 8 stolen bases. Excellent 303, 402, 567 with a 151 WRC plus, 264 ISO. Maybe a little something there. He's 30, though. I mean, we're not talking about a young up-and-coming prospect, but a lefty bat with maybe a little bit of pop and some good minor league and KBO numbers over the past couple of years. Mark Vientos at 28, 25, just never expensive enough. 17 home runs, bad year last year, but we saw the power on display the year before, and he maintained, it was a dip, but he maintained a double-digit barrel rate, 11.5% down from 14.3, while pushing hard hit up, while reducing strikeout by 5 percentage points. I like him to put it all together this season and overperform those prices. So it's a good Mets lineup basically from top to bottom in any configuration. And the pitcher they're going against, 15.5% strikeout rate last season for Andre Blaney, a 5.31 ERA. Did have a 4.16 xFIP, but the Sierra of 4.44 is the better indicator. Puts way too many guys on base, not enough strikeout or no strikeout whatsoever. As I mentioned at the beginning of the show, the one ability he has is checking power, checking launch angle. You'll note nobody on the Mets above the magic number today. Soto the closest to it at 9.66. Everybody else more around halfway. 1.4 degree average launch angle is your culprit there. 2.94% home run rate. In spite of that, this is a little high for that. He's not a good pitcher. He's just a guy who can keep the ball down somewhat. I like the Mets to outscore that anyway. On the card side, going up against Senga. As mentioned, Senga, okay year last year. 3.02 ERA, but that defies the 4.35 xFIP and most notably the 4.52 Sierra. 22.6% strikeout against 11.4% walk. That's an 11.2 K minus BB. That is not good. Year before was lost to injury. Year before that, he was quite good in terms of strikeout, 29.1%, 2.98 ERA. But again, a full run almost higher in the xFIP department, still sub 4, but notable that it's always higher, that much higher. 11.1% walk, big part of your problem. So not a reliable guy. 7,400, I think you can get away with on DraftKings, though, given the strikeout upside. 86 on FanDuel. You're throwing darts. You're probably not getting a quality start for that price. So I don't love the option, but I do really like the matchup. Only got out to 4 innings in his last start, faced 16 batters in his last spring training outing, and that was on the 19th. So a few extended days of rest. I'm sure he threw a bullpen or something in between. Playable on DK. Don't love it on FanDuel. Cards bats against. Don't really love that option. Weatherholt, good rookie in the leadoff spot, 3,200, 3,300, cheap in the middle infield. Ivan Herrera, one of the better bats on this team. 19 homers last year, a very, very good breakout season after waiting for him for quite a while. Alec Burleson, I think the oldest player in this regular lineup. Good year last year, 18 home runs, solid slash line, 124 WRC plus. He's a good player. He would be a good cog in the machine on most teams. As to be the best player on the team is miscasting him, but that's where he is. Mason Wynn is overrated in the shortstop spot, but he's very cheap, hitting cleanup. You can go there if you're going cards. Nolan Gorman went deep yesterday. One of the few blemishes from yesterday's game for Clay Holmes. Couldn't remember the Mets starter there for a second. We liked that Clay Holmes spot. Gorman bent it a little bit, but didn't break it. 14 homers last year. Needs to get more of his power re-engaged. 16+% barrel rates for 2 straight years. Dipped down to 9.1% last year as the power evaporated. Jordan Walker off to a great start. Much, much, much better than these terrible numbers from last year. Had an up and down season the year before that in terms of going back and forth from the minors to the show, and just was inconsistent in the few opportunities he got, but was tremendous as a rookie 2 years ago. Still only 23. He's younger than most of the prospect guys that are arriving now that we talk about. He's just been here, right? So it's so significantly crazy good upside for a guy who was one of the most highly regarded prospects in baseball. Had a 10.9% barrel and a 50% hard hit last season. Had a 9.5 and a 43.1 the year before that. Just needs to find the consistency, and he's given the opportunity this year. Finally, thankfully, very cheap at 25-28, going up against an erratic pitcher who, can give up a little bit of, medium grade type contact. But where you really get the opportunity against Senga is in the walks. And I don't know that this young team is going to be patient enough to draw those walks and create those opportunities. So as an individual, I like Walker's upside. It's the same thing with Gorman for their power upside, but I don't love stacking this team up or getting to an abundance of cards. Ramon Urias, he's okay for sneaky pop from the right side down lineup, but doesn't look like a great spot for him. He's just cheap. 41.6% barrels last year, 11 home runs in 391 plate appearances. And then Victor Scott, told you his stats were going to be messed up. Just steals bases, but doesn't get on base enough to really support major fantasy upside. I would say Mets bats way over everything else. Cheap Senga on DraftKings. And then cards, bats, do what you will. Andre Palante, no thank you. Greg being Cohn asked on Ozzy Albies from the left side. And yeah, that's where we've gotten more of the power. Over the course of the career, is it for better average? And I assume gotten on base more. Yeah, significantly better. Wait, was I looking at the wrong number? It is lefty versus lefty is righty. 326. Yeah. So the slash line against lefties as a righty for the career, 326, 355, 40, and 136 WRC plus. Versus righties as a lefty, the slash line for the career, 245, 309, 423 with a 94 WRC plus. Has a higher home run total versus righties as a lefty, but that's because he's seen triple the opportunities. Has actually been better for the career in the 1,083 plate appearances versus lefties as a righty. Ugly 8 Games really scared of the Mets rain. Was that another rain spot? I went away from that weather board. That's just 36%. Seems more hot or warm, humid kind of a spot than a real dangerous rain spot. Does look like Roth has that more shaded despite it being a lower percent chance. I'm not sure exactly how he's doing that, but yeah, it does look like he's got that more orange. Just the nature of that part of the country is for those pop-up thunderstorm type storms though. So definitely something to keep an eye on. I would, have that on your radar, not to make a bad weather pun. Hunter Brown, tremendous, 9,700, 11,000. Differently priced across sites. Worth it on either one. Tough matchup against the Sox, though, but they're only pulling a 3.47 implied total against. He pitched to a 28.3% strikeout last season. Excellent marks by Stuff Plus. 2.43 ERA with a supporting 3.39 SIERA. Just a very, very top-end righty. Above average stuff. Above average ratings over here. Needs to locate a little bit better. Cut down on some walks maybe and make him just even better. 20.4 came on his BB last season, though. Top marks. On the other side, Brian Bayo at 75, 79, just a sub 18% strikeout rate. Walked too many at 8.4% last season. Did get away with it. 3.35 ERA, but you can see the flaws in the 4.55 SIERA, the 4.39 xFIP. Okay at managing power, keeps the ball down somewhat effectively. 9-degree average launch last year, wasn't problematic. 2.29% home run rate. Does have a minor impact on some of the Astros power numbers. Not for Jordan. 10.91. He went deep yesterday. Love him to come roaring back for his full talent through the course of the season. 75, 79 are inoffensive prices for Bayo. I just don't love the idea of attacking this Astros lineup with him. It wouldn't stun me. It wouldn't knock me out of my chair if he had an okay 30-point kind of a night with bonuses included on the FanDuel slate, but not a spot for me, I don't think. 4.11 implied total on the Astros side. You can see a little bit of that. If you're going to the Red Sox, Roman Anthony is a tremendous way to get started. 55-38 from the top spot. Kid was tremendous, over 303 plate appearances as a rookie last year. 15.5% barrel, 60.3% hard hit. I love him to just improve across the board in a full season. Trevor Story was tremendous last year. Full season of action, 654 excellent plate appearances, 25 homers, 31 stolen bases. Just a 101 WRC plus because he doesn't get on base enough. Only drew a 5% walk, 308 on base, but it's just nice to see him. And the counting stats are fantastic. Get him at shortstop on both sides for a fair price. Yoshida, 2,700, 2,500. Discerning hitter at the plate, low strikeout rate. A little bit of pop in the bat, though. Can drive the ball. Not a big-time home run bat, but a guy who can definitely doubles, line drives, excellent bat at ball events, and just the ability to put the ball in play like crazy. Excellent option in the 3 spot behind those guys. Wilson Contreras, first base only on DraftKings, catcher first base, but that doesn't matter on FanDuel. 20 homers last year, 190 ISO, a 344 WOBA, under a 358 xWOBA, so underperformed a little bit, 124 WRC plus. Fantastic bat in the heart of this lineup. Right-handed hitter for 4,000, for 3,000. He's a part of your plans if you're going to the Red Sox, but maybe not a reason to go to the Red Sox against this pitcher. Wilyer Abreu against this pitcher. You can start making the argument that Willier's a good reason to go to the Red Sox. Kid's just a tremendous hitter when he's on the the right side of his platoons. Lefty bat. Anytime you get a righty on the mound, you can consider him a Wilyer against that pitcher. But this is an exceptional righty. 7.44 for Wilyer in the home run model, though, does lead the team today. Hit 22 in 417 plate appearances last year. Andrew Monasterio, mix and match type guy. Marcelo Mayer, probably the same thing. Connor Wong, certainly that, but a cheap option at catcher who once upon a time did hit more than the 0 home runs he hit last year in 188 chances. And then Sedan Rafaela, inexpensive, move him around on FanDuel a little bit. Outfield only on DraftKings, just another outfielder. 16 homers, 20 stolen bases, but another substandard season when it was all said and done via WRC plus. The throwback Astros, Jeremy Pena, 45-34. Excellent season last year. I can't really argue with it. I don't know that he repeats, but proved himself to me a little bit last year. 17 homers, 20 steals, excellent slash line, 135 WRC plus. I can't call him mediocre anymore, unfortunately. Now he's just fairly priced. 54-38 is a bargain for Jordan Alvarez. He should be over 6,000 and over 4,000, honestly. He is that good. He's one of the very best hitters in all of baseball from every angle of hitting. Jose Altuve, 45-32. Excellent game yesterday. What do you have? 4 hits, including a home run, I think. I like him to have another strong year. He just keeps on doing it and keeps on defying the odds. As I've been saying over the first couple of shows, at some point he's going to hit the wall, but I have no reason to really believe that that's going to be immediately. 300 xWOBA would tell us that, maybe under that 331 xWOBA last season, but he just gets away with it. So I expect big things. Not going to knock probably more than 25 home runs again. Definitely not going to steal a bunch of bases like he used to, but an adequate player at least. And a good option in the 3 spot at second base. Carlos Correa, only 35-28. Never stopped hitting the ball hard. 13 home runs, 276, 332, 402 in a productive year. 106 WRC plus, 338 xWOBA lurking under the surface as well. Tells us there's even more to come. 4,029 from Christian Walker is off to a decent start after an atrocious year last year. Not a bad price for a guy at a 12.9% barrel rate, even though it was a bad year. Hit 27 home runs. Joey Loperfido, 2,824. Lurking power, good power numbers from the minors. Decent 104 plate appearances in the show last year to boot. 148 WRC plus, got on at a 379 clip. It's a good upside play. Cam Smith, Jainer Diaz, Jake Myers down the bottom of the lineup. Smith and Myers more mix and matchy kind of players in the outfield. Both more just another outfielder than they are standouts. Jainer Diaz, kind of a standout catcher in my mind, even though he had a down year last year, especially for the on base. Just makes tons and tons of plate appearances, puts great wood on the ball consistently, low strikeout, low walk. So you're just getting a lot of this premium contact, and still did hit 20 home runs last season. Only a 92 WRC plus, but you can see 326 X was slightly above average, but way above his bad 300 WOBA last year. Hunter Brown, Astros bats, Red Sox bats, Brian Bayo. That's probably being unfair to Brian Bayo, but that's fine. Shouldn't be pitching for the Red Sox. You want me to be unfair to him. Andy likes tonight's pick for what? Home run pick? I literally don't even remember who I went with. Who the hell did I go with? Oh, yes. That's right. We'll get there. I like that pick too. Detroit Tigers, Casey Mize on the mound. Brandon Pfaadt going for the Diamondbacks. Talked about it a little bit up at the top of the show. I like both these starters. I just don't love this spot for either of them. Both teams pulling mid-4s implied totals out in the desert, among the highest overall totals on the slate. I don't love it. 5 decent innings out of either of these starters, I think you're okay. What I do like for both of them, though, is the DraftKings price. They're both in the SP2 mix on DK. 68 for Brandon Pfaadt, not a bad price, especially given all the strikeout. Again, we just saw Soroka strike out 10 against this team. Brandon Pfaadt, maybe not the strikeout pitcher that Michael Soroka can be, but expecting 5 or 6 is not completely unreasonable. Had an okay year last year. The ERA was bad at 5, but the XFIP 403, the Sierra 415 tell us he was better than that ERA says. When he needs to push back up is the strikeout rate. It was down at 19% against a tidy 5% walk rate. Had a 24-3 the year before, 22-3 the year before that in a half season. So he is a better pitcher than we saw last year. Maybe he finds a little strikeout upside for you at that $6,800 price. 83, just kind of on the FanDuel slate. Casey Mize at 88 on FanDuel is definitely overpriced. You're probably not getting 6 in a quality start out of Casey when the Diamondbacks pulling it down with a 4.63 implied total, and it's his first start of the year. At 7,000, you can maybe get away with it. 22.2% strikeout, another pitcher with a good strikeout rate, good walk rate at 5.7%, still just amounts to a 16.4 strikeout minus walk last season. 3.87 ERA, 3.96 ERA, kind of was who he was on the surface last year. Give up a little bit too much premium contact and power. That's getting into the mix here against some of these Diamondbacks hitters and pushing that total up a little bit. Mize is a very capable, competent enough pitcher. Wouldn't stun me if he had a good start for you on either site, but underprojected compared to a lot of the upside pitchers today, and he's priced up on FanDuel. At 7,000, he works a lot better as an SP2 on DraftKings. For the Tigers, Kerry Carpenter, Colt Keith, Riley Green. I'll throw Kevin McConnell into that mix as well. Dangerous lefties in this lineup going up against Brandon Pfaadt. There's a lot of lefty upside for the Tigers. I mentioned it yesterday against Soroka, how I was scared of Kerry Carpenter and Riley Green going into that one, and a little bit of obviously Torkelson just on any given slate for the power upside, but specifically those lefties. I think that could work against Brandon Pfaadt here. He did give up a 10.8% barrel, 45.4% hard hit, 90.7 miles an hour of exit velo. So we're alarmingly over all 3 of our warning thresholds there, and he only gave up a 3.35% home run rate. So while he does have some ceiling to go for strikeout coming back this year, he's probably also got some room in the basement for home runs. Just be aware of that, given that premium contact. Works negatively against him against Kerry Carpenter for sure. 12.3% barrel, 46.2% hard hit, 26 homers in 464 last year. Colt Keith, excellent barrel and hard hit rate out of him last year, just amounted to 13 home runs, but there's a better power bat in there. There's a good doubles bat in there, and he's been swinging. His bat speed is up 2 or 3 miles an hour so far in a small sample this year. Riley Green, 17.1% barrel to lead the team last season. 36 home runs also led the team. Torque, 13.5% barrel. I'll throw in Dylan Dingler for cheap down there, 9.2%. So a lot of barrels, a lot of power looking in this Tigers lineup. Mid-4s implied total puts them on the board for stacking. I would go through those options up at the top, and then I skipped over Gleyber Torres, 3,600, 2,800. I've sang his praises already several times this season. Excellent for limiting strikeouts. Excellent at drawing walks. 363 xWOBA underneath his 332 WOBA last season. One of the highest among, or the highest among all qualified second basemen last season by xWOBA. 113 WRC plus in what people generally consider a bad year. So weird. Underpriced. Quality. Hits second most days for this team too. Right in the mix with all these power guys. Even if he's just getting on base, that's a great option for DFS. McGonigal, rip-roaring start to his career. One of the top prospects in all of baseball. You go too many times. Still just 2,700 on FanDuel, 39 on DraftKings. Pretty cheap. Parker Meadows, Javi Baez at the bottom. Mix and match pieces at best. Meadows has an interesting skill set. Javi used to when he cared about baseball. On the Diamondback side, Ketel Marte, 4,835, coming off a great year with 28 home runs, a 390 xWOBA, 145 WRC plus. Dude's just a masher at second base. A little cheap at 4,800 on DraftKings too. That price is down. 58.36 for Corbin Carroll, coming off a big day, 30-30 season last year. Again, I do like the power to finish a few home runs behind that. I'm only talking about a dip to like 25, 23, something in that territory. But everything else should stay intact. He should be excellent for fantasy scoring throughout the season. And already defied that with a home run yesterday. Adaldo Perdomo, 5,700. Fairly priced. 2020 season last year, 20 homers, 27 steals. Excellent season across the board at a 370 WOBA, 356 xWOBA, 138 WRC plus. Dude's just really, really good. Excellent way to fill shortstop. That trio is expensive, but well worth it. On DraftKings, you can average it down twice because everybody else in this lineup is cheap if you're building out the 5-man. FanDuel, you only get one shot at doing that, but at least everybody else is cheap. I would say Moreno almost definitely belongs in there, even though he's the most expensive of the cheap options on DraftKings. Just take care of catcher with a solid hitting, cleanup hitting catcher who's directly correlated with the three guys you're already taking. And then maybe you got to like Jose Fernandez and take the discount back. Or probably the better option would be the wraparound on Jordan Lawler for just 21 and take your discount back. So if you went like that and like that, you're at 42.60 a piece for the 5-man. That includes Marte, Carroll, Perdomo, and Moreno. Your top 4. Not bad. 463 implied total. Maybe differentiates you a little bit in terms of how you construct that. If you skip Moreno, you go like that, and then I would still probably want Lawler. You could make an argument for Carlos Santana at 25, but he was mostly shot last year. I don't love that. I would probably just double dip on the discount and just take Jose Fernandez there. That puts me at 39.4. So it puts me under 4,000 and still includes those 3 hitters. Let me pull Jose Fernandez for you real quick. Oh, God, it's 6 o'clock already. No, not that one. He is unfortunately no longer with us. This Jose Fernandez, not the Marlins pitcher, unfortunately. Just a 98 WRC plus in 511 plate appearances in Double-A last season as a 21-year-old, still young for that level, or on track. But did have a 183 ISO, just struck out 20% of the time, 272, 321, 454, 17 homers, 12 stolen bases. That's an okay profile. Traditional scouting doesn't really have him showing all that much. 40 grade power, 50 grade speed. Not a premium prospect in terms of prospect ranking, but we've seen guys beat those before, and he's just a dead min in this lineup and hitting 6th. So, yeah, I would put him on the board probably more so than Carlos Santana, James McCann, and Alec Thomas. Thomas, just another outfielder, really. Santana's had better days. Still maybe capable. 11 home runs last year, nothing special. 290 xWOBA, 6 points higher than his 284 actual. Just an 82 WRC plus last year. McCann, once upon a time, you could look to for some home run upside. He hit 5 last year. Okay, slash line, 110 WRC plus. Did make good contact, 52% hard hit rate. So when he was in the lineup, he was productive. But I'm probably filling catcher right here for 600 more and just more direct connection to that stack. And then Lawler's just a cheap kid with a bunch of prospect pedigree. This goes 4 playable corners on DraftKings for sure. Probably only the bats on FanDuel. I would lean. God damn, these guys are so similar. Because you got all the same issues with premium contact from Mize, matching 335 home run rates. Give me the Tigers bats, Diamondbacks bats. Brandon Pfaadt, Casey Mize. Pfaadt a little bit better for this potential actually being better than Mize in terms of strikeout, even though it was the other way around last year. San Francisco Giants, your home run pick of the day, as alluded to a moment ago, comes from this game. We do have both lineups confirmed. We'll get us clear in the next 15 minutes or so. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you're out there. Hopefully I'm not talking to nobody. I haven't pulled up the chat in a sec. But hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. Check out rotoscouts.com. You can access all of these dashboards yourself. In our game-by-game snapshots, you can get all the projections, hitter projections, pitcher projections, top stacks board, top power index that ranks out the home run probability across the full lineups, individual home run picks, one from every team, and then the overall of the day, which we're about to get into because he's leading off for the San Francisco Giants. It's Mr. Willy Adames. Love the upside for Willie. Masher going up against German Marquez, who, again, remains to be seen what he actually is, fully healthy, pitching out of Coors Field for a full season. But right now, we're taking the Giants. We're taking the against Marquez position. Last season, Marquez made 26 starts, 14% strikeout rate, pitched to a 6.70 ERA, a 5.35 xFIP, which is notably better, 5.26 Sierra, but not good in its own sense. 1.71 whip, just way too many guys on base. 11% barrel allowed. 15-degree average launch is fine, but not when you're allowing 11% barrel. 48.2% hard hits and 91.6 miles an hour of exit velocity on average. Willy Adames, your home run pick of the day at 9.60 in the leadoff spot and cheap at shortstop. 4,400, 3,000 for a guy who had 30 bombs last year, stole 12 bases. Inconsistent, bad season to begin with, monster second half, pulled his numbers together and had an okay year. I like him to improve on the slash line this year while maintaining the power upside. Hitting in front of Rafi Devers today. Love that two-man combo there. It's obviously your top two priority hitters if you're stacking this team. Rafi, I've talked about it several times already. A tremendous, tremendous year last year. Don't let anybody tell you that he had a bad year last year. He did not. 135 WRC plus, 365 WOBA, and a 367 xWOBA that are almost identical to one another. Hit 35 home runs, 15.8% barrel, 56.1% hard hit. Both of those numbers up over each of the last two seasons pretty significantly. Barrel from 13% last year and 12.7 the year, or 2 years ago, and 12.7 the year before that to 15.8 last year. Hard hits up 4 points year over year. Yeah, he did not have a bad year last year. Elliot Ramos, 3,800, 3,021 home runs. Good right-handed power bat. A lot of premium contact there. Average strikeout rate, average walk rate, so you get a fair number of opportunities. I like the upside for him to have a better season. There's not much in that just league average xWOBA, similar matching WOBA, but that is a kid who's been consistently pretty good and hitting the ball squarely. Had a much better barrel rate for 2 seasons at 13.9 and 14.5 than the 8.8 last year, but maintained the hard hit. It was an exact match year over year. Maintained the home runs. So I like him, and it's a good spot in the lineup. Hits in front of Luis Arias, former batting champ, 290, 327, 392, a 104 WRC plus last year. Not my favorite option for DFS play, but he has his role. He resets the table for guys like Matt Chapman. So he does belong in stacks. He's inoffensively priced, has second base eligibility, so we plug him in there. Don't want him at first base. That's a power spot. 4,600 for Matty Chapman. 2,900 on FanDuel, hit 21 home runs last year, got on at a 340 clip, still created runs 18% better than average, a 340 xWOBA. Matt Chapman's still a tremendous option at third base and not priced at the top of the board. Love it. 9.9% barrel, 47.6% hard hit. No positional conflict with him and Rafi, and you can get him, Rafi, and Arias given the second base eligibility there. So no positional conflicts to worry about. Young-Hoo Lee, 3,429, 8 home runs, 10 stolen bases, 266, 327, 407, a 107 WRC plus last year. More a line drive, put the ball in play type hitter, low strikeout, medium walk rate type of a hitter. Every now and then can get into one a little bit more than that, but we're just looking for him as a cog in the machine type guy. Harrison Bader overperforms his actual abilities most of the time. Excellent numbers last season. I talked about it before. Just finds a way to get involved. 17 homers, 11 steals last year. Solid slash line, 122 WRC plus. Patty Bailey, mix and match quality catcher, and Casey Schmidt, mix and match quality infielder. On the Padres side, going up against Logan Webb, who I do want to roster as a pitcher. One of the top pitchers for depth in the entire league. Excellent at keeping the ball down. Serviceable strikeout rate at worst, 25.8% last year at a 20.31 K-minus BB. Pitched to a 3.30 ERA with a better xFIP, better Sierra. Just a fantastic option. Bumpy first start against the Yankees. Don't sweat it. Has the Padres check down under 4 implied runs. I like him to give us 6+ innings. I like him to have a strong start here and a nice bounce back. Price is down a few bucks on FanDuel, even further at 8,600 on DraftKings. That's a very, very nice looking opportunity. On the Padres side, we really, we worry a little bit, obviously, about Fernando Tatis, Manny Machado. They're superstars. Jake Cronenworth is just an on-base option in the leadoff spot, but he's a good on-base option, so a good piece of machinery for this team. Doesn't create a lot of individual concern. Jackson Merrill remains to be seen who he really is. 16 homers last year, kind of diminished season, but still did have a 116 WRC plus. Excellent 347 xWOBA under the surface. Tells us he's probably the player we saw 2 years ago. So does the 13% barrel rate. We'll see what the production looks like, though. Going up against Logan Webb, I don't love it for a big, fantastic game, 3.80 in the home run model. Xander Bogaerts, just okay. It was just okay last year, 11 homers, 20 stolen bases, clawed his way to a 104 WRC plus and some relevance. He's cheap. If you're building with this team, you can use him. Priority bat, I would say, if you're building with this team, but not a reason to get to this team. Miguel Andujar, hits for average, a little bit of power last year with 10 home runs and 341 plate appearances. Lifelong, career-long journeyman type hitter. Doesn't strike out, puts the ball in play, low walk rate, journeyman type guy. Gavin Sheets, you could say similar things. 9.3% barrel, 46.5% hard hit. Did hit 19 homers and 545 plate appearances last year. Not a monster power bat, though. Only 2 guys in this lineup were over 20 home runs last year. It was Tatis and Machado, the guys I mentioned up top. Bottom of the lineup, Nicky Castellanos, unless somebody famous died. Freddie Fermin, always been good at putting the ball in play. Comes down to BABIP. He doesn't strike out, doesn't draw a lot of walks, doesn't hit the ball particularly hard. Last year, it amounted to 251, 297, 339. Kind of disappointing. Year before that, 271, 319, 366. A little bit more useful. 281, 321, 461 the year before that, and a 108 WRC plus was his most useful. But if he can find his way to first base, he could be all right. But he's never going to destroy a DFS slate for you. Logan Webb, Giants bats. Logan Webb, I believe the Giants are ranked second on the stats board today. Couple ticks above their Vegas total, which was 7th, I want to say. So, looking a little better fantasy-wise than maybe they are on the Vegas board, but hopefully that renders them a little bit lighter owned than they ought to be. Like the spot here against Marquez, or the corpse of Marquez. So, cue the 7-inning excellent start from Metamon to start his comeback season. Keep on going. Yanks and the Mariners, as mentioned, tremendous pitching matchup here at the end of the night. Max Fried, Logan Gilbert, love it. 11-2, 10-1, very expensive for both options on FanDuel. Fried, like I said, not the strikeout artist that price almost demands, but what is probably priced in there is the ability to book that quality start. Pitched into the 7th inning in his first start of the season, has that upside on any given slate, even in March. So you do get that opportunity from Fried. Very good lineup, though, on the other side to get through, but has all the tools to do it, suppresses power, keeps the ball in the yard, keeps the ball on the ground, 6.9 degree average launch last year, 23.6% strikeout rate. He's a tick above average, but he's not a premium strikeout artist. 2.86 ERA, a 3.41 xFIP, not much higher underneath. Excellent option. 8,800 on DraftKings is tremendous. That's an opportunity option. 95 for Logan Gilbert on DraftKings facing the Yankees. Kind of a different story. That's just a fair price for a very, very good pitcher, but he's in a high danger spot. Even if the Yanks coming in at 3.56, they are still the Yankees. There is still a lot of quality in that lineup. So Gilbert's going to have to be on his game. 32.3% strikeout rate is his game from last year. 26.5% strikeout minus walk rate is tremendous. As I've mentioned a few times, that is the mold for these excellent Mariners pitchers. And this is the best of them in terms of the strikeout to walk ratio because he strikes out the most. Most of those guys, 25 to 28% strikeout against low 3 to 5% walk rates, the Brian Woos of the world, the Bryce Millers of the world when he's healthy. Gilbert gets up even more than that on the upside of the 15.5% swinging strike rate from last year. Pitched to a 3.44 ERA, but beat that in both xFIP and Sierra, 2.95, 2.86. This is a fantastic pitcher. Just needs to be fully healthy this season. Love the upside. 95 is fair. 10-1 is fair and cheaper than Max. But again, got to target the Yankees to get there. Maybe that renders him a little bit lower owned than he would be against the White Sox. Probably. Trent Grisham from the top of the Yankees. Let's see if we got this one confirmed. We don't, but we do have the Mariners. Robbie Refsnyder in the leadoff spot. We talked about his fantastic platoon abilities the other day. So Yankees stole the projected version. Trent Grisham awfully cheap at 27.31 for a guy who had 34 home runs and got on base at a 3.48 clip, hitting ahead of Aaron Judge. Just throw that into the mix. That is a really cheap, easy way to average down Yankees pricing. And they're already not that expensive outside of Aaron Judge. You can just top line this. Top 5 there is only 43.80. It includes Grisham, Judge, Bellinger, Ben Rice, and Giancarlo Stanton. So you've got like 6 or 7 MVP awards in there. Several hundred home runs over the last few seasons in there. Yeah, that's a little silly. Let's say we want to take Benji out of it and put Jazz in. Jazz is actually cheaper than Ben Rice at 42. So that brings us to 43.40. And again, that stack includes Trent Grisham, Aaron Judge, Cody Bellinger, Giancarlo Stanton, and Jazz Chisholm Jr. So the Yankees are underpriced compared to where they ought to be, but they are going against one of the best right-handed pitchers in baseball. Aaron Judge is pulling an insane power number, given how good Logan Gilbert is. And I mentioned it way back at the beginning of the show. Gilbert, for all his excellence, does have that flaw that we see with some aces where if guys get a hold of him, they can drive the ball. And it usually amounts to a solo shot, a 2-run homer, and doesn't do damage to the pitcher in terms of giving up runs, having a bad game. But he does give up some premium contact on a fly ball trajectory and amounted to just under a 4% home run rate last year. So something to watch. I do believe in the home run numbers for Judge, Stanton here. You can see Jazzy and Cody Bellinger, Ben Rice, all just under the magic number. Same thing with Trent Grisham. So the Yanks, sneaky power upside, but the sequencing might not be there, kind of like it wasn't last night. So that's the trick, right? Despite the home run totals not looking bad, I believe they're number 1 ranked on the home run board today. The opportunity to sequence is why the run total is so low. why we're not necessarily considering them as strong an option for fantasy. They're ranked down the board a couple places. Judge, 53 homers last year, just tremendous season. Cody Bellinger's cheap at 4,300, 29 homers, 13 steals last year, 125 WRC plus. Ben Rice, don't sleep on Ben Rice. 4,400 is more expensive than he's been, but the catcher eligibility is fantastic. 3,200 on FanDuel, still pretty inexpensive. 26 homers last year. He's just getting started. 14.8% barrel. Draws a great walk rate. Doesn't really strike out. It's a very, very good hitter. Stanton's off to a tremendous start to his season over 4 games or whatever it's been. Monster upside if he could stay on the field. I mentioned it in the first show and in the baseball recap article. 24 home runs and 281 plate appearances last year. Had at least 400 and some odd plate appearances for each of the handful of seasons before that, despite the injuries and the ongoing reputation for never being on the field. Has hit 20 plus home runs and 24 plus home runs each of the last few seasons. So there's still a major source of power there. He just needs to be healthy. Jazz Chisholm, off to a bad start. A lot of dribblers. Came into the season with talks of going 50-50, 40-40 after a 31-31 season last year. His numbers aren't showing right now either. Ryan McMahon, Austin Wells, Jose Caballero. Pretty good way to round out this lineup. We got Caballero shifted down to the 9 spot like I was asking for yesterday, given his ability to get on base, steal bases, create a little havoc. Put him directly in front where he wraps back around to these killer guys at the top. That enhances Jose Caballero's value, especially when you can move him around the board for cheap, and people won't necessarily go to it. Excellent source of stolen bases, if nothing else. And then you get a little bit of pop from the left side out of both McMahon and Wells. On the Mariners side, I don't love the upside going there, but they'll probably be under-owned. Just probably going to be another low-scoring night like we saw last night with these two teams. Two very good lineups with a lot of good fantasy assets. Probably going to get knocked down by quality pitching. But Rest Snyder's a platoon specialist. He's inexpensive. Had a 12.3% barrel and 52.3% hard hit in this role against left-handed pitching last season. Created runs 28% better than average. He was fantastic. That ex-WOBA, 20 points lower than the actual WOBA that he put up, but still a good mark. 214 ISO. You don't really expect him to go back to that level, especially not the premium contact. You can see it wasn't quite to those standards in previous seasons, but he's good in this platoon role. I just don't want to throw him at max. Cal Raleigh got on the board last night, walk-off single for this team after struggling, getting benched yesterday. Not benched, but given a day off. Came in late in the game, pinch hit, won the game for the Mariners in, was it bottom of the ninth? If it didn't go to extras, right? It was bottom of the ninth. Pretty sure. Julio, superstar, 4,900, 3,600. Price down a little bit on DraftKings to start the season. Notorious slow starter, but an excellent fantasy asset. Just again, you don't love tangling with Max, but grab that big righty bat if you're going to tangle with Max. Josh Naylor knocked down a little bit for the lefty, 39, 29, 20 homers, 30 stolen bases last season. Slow start to the year, but a very good bat. Low strikeout, medium walk rate, puts a lot of balls in play, and they're typically well struck. Randy Arozarena against the lefty. I like the upside there, but again, not this lefty necessarily because of how well he keeps the ball down, how much he limits runs. But Arozarena is tremendous. 27 home runs, 31 stolen bases in an underappreciated year last year. Brendan Donovan, a really interesting cog in the machine for this team now. 4,200, 3,400, off to a good start. Always has been good at hitting for average. A little bit of pop in that 12 home run type range. Good run creator, 119 WRC plus last year. 346 xWOBA hiding under that 337 WOBA last year too. Victor Robles, tons of speed still. Decent outfielder. Needs to get on base more consistently than the 281 on base percentage from last year. And then Leo Rivas and Cole Young mix and match pieces with JP Crawford out and whatever the kid's name is. They gave him the big contract that about to probably come back up from the minors. I would say Logan Gilbert, Max Fried, Yankees bats, Mariners bats. Light four corners game, but only in the sense that you could get two very good lineups and probably defy a lot of the ownership. You're just tangling with two of the best pitchers on the slate to do it. And then we round things out once again with an ugly Guardians and Dodgers game. A little bit of rain in the area in this one as well in Los Angeles, which is kind of weird, but definitely something to watch toward the end of the night. 6:17. I got to get this show done. Guardians 3-1-1 implied total against Ohtani. Your wrinkle for the Dodgers, as always, when he's on the mound, you don't get hitting scoring out of Ohtani. He will be hitting, and he will be a force in this lineup, but he is pitching tonight for your fantasy slate. Looks like a good pitching option, though. 10-7 on FanDuel is a little expensive. 9,000 on DraftKings, a little bit cheap for Shohei Ohtani. Excellent pitcher when he's going. 14 starts last season, 33% strikeout rate, just tremendous ability. So like the option to shut down this Guardians lineup quite a bit. Coming the other direction, Tanner Bybee. Ohtani, by the way, in 2 spring outings, faced 18 hitters in his last spring start, went 4 innings, struck out 11. He struck out 11 of 18. It's ridiculous. I know it's a spring game, but that's just ridiculous. Bybee made 1 start already, went 5 in that first game, struck out 7, gave up 3 earned runs on 3 solo shots. Weird first performance. 21.3% strikeout last season, gave up a 3.54% home run rate. Not problematic on the barrels, the hard hits, the exit velo, though, so it wouldn't shock me if he was able to trim that by a percentage point or 2 this season. 4.24 ERA is right in line with the underlying xFIP and Sierra. Good, not great starter. Capable, but not probably against the Dodgers here. Just not what we want, I don't think. Parker Messick got there yesterday. I don't like him to do it back-to-back. Not that one thing impacts the other at all, but I just don't want to target the Dodgers here with Tanner Bybee. 8,000 is a fair price. 9,000 a little bit unfair. Stephen Kwan leading off for the Guardians. Chase DeLauder, one of the best starts you'll ever see to a season, to a career. Kwan just gets on base, hits for average, hit a few home runs. He had 11 last year, stole 21 bases, got on at a 330 clip, but substandard 99 WRC plus, not to his expectations. I like him to improve on that, just get on a little bit more consistently, ditch the idea of hitting for power, go back to just scratching out base hits, especially when you've got support from DeLauder, from Jose Ramirez, from improving Kyle Manzardo in the lineup now. There's a little bit more upside in this lineup for them. DeLauder's cheap for the start he's off to on DraftKings at 3,800. He's 3,600 on FanDuel. That's a starkly different price from site to site. Jose Ramirez, superstar price like it on DraftKings. He's 3,800. He's only 200 more expensive than Chase DeLauder is on FanDuel. That's just dumb to put that in perspective. Manzardo at 4,129, a little bit cheap for his upside. Hit 27 home runs from the left side last year. That's a good power bat. 11.5% barrel, 43.8% hard hit, 113 WRC plus. Kid's good. Those are cheap prices. You got to draw down against Shohei Ohtani, one of the best pitchers in baseball. Look at this stuff for Ohtani. It is outrageously above average across 6 pitches. What are you supposed to do with this guy? Bo Naylor, a little ability to drive the ball, wildly inconsistent. Sub Mendoza, 282 on base, 85 WRC plus, and it craters from there. 79, 77, 96, and 77 WRC plus marks going down the line. The 96 comes from CJ Kafis in just 138 plate appearances. That were okay, nothing special. Mix and match quality out of any one of those guys. Gabriel Arias does make good contact, so does Daniel Schneemann. You got to give him that. But 206, 283, 354, and 220, 274, 363, not exactly paying the bills. Dodgers, accepting Shohei Ohtani, he's still got a lot of excellence through here. You get a pretty decent stack for a fair price through that group. That's a 5-man that costs $46.40 against a gettable pitcher like Bybee. And it includes Kyle Tucker, Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman, Will Smith, and Max Muncy. Not bad. Leaving out the best, second best, third best hitter in the world, depending on your perspective on Judge and Soto. Always sucks, but this is still an elite offense for DFS. Kyle Tucker, one of the best lefty bats in the sport. A lot of power, 57.45. Not unfair. Those are the right prices for Tucker, and the right prices, you got to push up that price a little bit just for the quality of this lineup. I would argue that Mookie at 47, Freddie at 45, Will Smith at 42, and Max Muncy at 41 are all a little bit cheap on DraftKings. Maybe only Max Muncy at 31 on FanDuel is a little too cheap. FanDuel's doing a better job with these Dodgers prices so far. Not that those are crazy cheap on DK, but everybody in that group is a couple $100 too cheap. You can honestly throw Teoscar into that mix too, 4,400. He had 25 home runs in a down season last year. It's a good right-handed power bat, still at an 11.5% barrel, 46% hard hit. Double-digit barrels out of basically everybody in the lineup, not named Mookie Betts last season in the top 7. Mid-40s and above hard hit rates. They're getting paid like this. They're wearing Los Angeles blue for a reason. Andy Pajes down the bottom of the lineup, 4,000, 3,000, only hit 27 homers and stole 14 bases. That'll pay off some fantasy upside for you for only 4,000, 3,000, 113 WRC plus. And then Alex Freeland, I mentioned him yesterday. Good switch hitting prospect, 2,200, 2,300, second base eligible on both sites. Nice way to average down your Dodgers pricing that's already a little bit cheap. I would consider him maybe before like a Teoscar and Andy Pajes just for that cheaper price and that positional eligibility. You go like that. Probably want Will Smith in there. to fill catcher. Now I'm down to 42.60 for a stack that includes Tucker, Betts, and Freeman still, and Will Smith, and a top prospect. It's not bad. Again, Bybee not bad. Not a pitcher that you want to necessarily go out of your way to attack. He does have excellent stuff across a number of pitches, but he's not a ultra premium type starter either. Definitely gettable for this Dodgers team. And again, Ohtani will be there to drive offense. Dodgers bats, Shohei Ohtani, Dodgers bats, whatever order you want it in. Tanner Bybee, Guardians bats, bringing up the bottom. That's about it, gang. 6:23 on the clock. Russ Cole calling for the low-owned nuclear Detroit, Arizona stack. Pitcher Ponce. Ponce isn't pitching tonight, bro. Ponce pitched briefly last night. Oh, you're talking about last night? I get it. You had the Detroit, Arizona stack last night, and you had Ponce ruin that stack is what you're telling me. Now I get it. I thought you were telling me what you're planning on playing tonight. All right, let me punch out of here, gang. You guys absolutely rock. Bunch of people still here hanging out through the show. A lot of talking for me. I got to get this show moved up in the afternoon. Look forward to a little bit earlier going forward. One last time, promo code OD26 scrolling across the bottom of your screen. $15 first month, $4 first week over at rotoscouts.com. Everything is always under $1 a day, and it's all in pricing, guys. You get all of baseball, hockey, and basketball for every single main slate for basketball and hockey projections. Do you think the Dodgers game plays? I don't love playing weatherman, Meech. Seems like Roth is okay on it. He's got it as orange. 60% chance of precipitation, but like Los Angeles weather, maybe that's just a little sprinkle of a shower. But I would watch it. I don't love guessing at weatherman though, but it's the highest mark or second highest mark behind Wrigley by 2 points of precipitation value. With that, gang, Willie Adames, your home run pick of the day. Like that Giants upside. I do like the upside for the Giants against Armand Marquez today. Check out the site, rotoscouts.com. In the next couple of minutes, I'll have all the confirmed lineups updated there. I'll get on NBA projections in the next couple of minutes as well to update all the stupid NBA news for that 5-game slate. You guys rock. Good luck out there tonight. Somebody go win something. We'll see you tomorrow.